So, hello. I guess we're starting now. So, hi. I'm Girlfriend. This is Leather and Laces. This is an 18 in style up lifestyle podcast. YouTube, everything. If you are under the age of 18, please leave now. Come back when you're over 18, please. Come back. Go visit Scarlet Teen. They're just for you. I am not. But today I have some very lovely special guests that I get to sit between. Oh boy. Don't you dare dom circle me. You guys are mean. I have Master Shadow.
Hi.
And his husband Topher.
Hello.
So we're going to be talking about their journey today and what they do. And all the fun things. And I have fun cards. So you guys don't get to look and read them. That's not nice. So who are you? What are your pronouns?
Start with the master.
Start with the master.
I'm Master Shadow. My pronouns are he, him, and anything else that you can come up with.
Okay.
I'm Topher, and my pronouns are he, him.
He, him. Okay. What's your contact info? In case people are interested in seeing you guys outside of this. You don't have to give them your address and things like that. We're already here.
I'm trying to remember.
So the easiest way probably to reach either one of us is going to be going on Facebook and just getting on the Unity Leather and Fetish page, which is an event we're producers of that hopefully once COVID is over, we'll be launching again. But that will probably be the easiest way to get a hold of either one of us.
Cool. All right. And what are we cleaning today? What are we?
We are cleaning my Mr. S leather vest.
Yay.
You know they're supposed to pay us before you shameless plug. And in point of reference, we're being told by the director to speak up and project.
I know that is no problem for you. You, on the other hand.
What?
Just pretend you're yelling at me. Please yell at me.
Please yell at me. Please yell at me.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, please tell me you
You're
wore
a
the thick
bad
panties.
girl.
Have I? Have I really?
Would you get a towel so she has something to sit on?
There's one in my bag. I brought it with me. I was prepared. I came prepared. So we're cleaning this lovely, lovely vest. If you don't mind, I'm going to hold it up and show it off.
It is unlined, and as most people can see, it has a big giant white patch in the back, so not everybody gets to touch it.
No. I'm lucky, so ha. Alright, so very cool. I'm excited. I've only ever seen you wear it. I don't think I've actually cleaned it for you ever.
You have not?
I have not. How fun. Okay, so today we're using, because we're white saddle soap, I just grabbed the white. It does not matter. I has a small brush and a big brush today. And a washing brush for later, and a toothbrush. And some water. This is my water. This is our alcohol for later. You can see over there, in case we need it. You don't want it. It's 1 to 10. Very weak. Very, very weak. So, we have all that. So while I start on this, tell us about your first experience and what brought you into the lifestyle. Either one of you can start.
It's just like putting him on the spot.
Is it just fun to watch?
Back to this one.
Picture it, Sicily.
My first long-term relationship, we used to tie each other up. And that's kind of the starting point. And as time went on, I got kinkier and kinkier.
I think my introduction to the lifestyle begins like most men's, porn. You see this thing, it's hot, everybody's getting off, everybody's having excitement, and then going to a gay establishment and actually seeing it in practice and learning more, it really intrigued me because not only is it sexual in nature, but there's also this semblance of respect and communication there that is very, very attractive.
All right. What is your power dynamic?
He loves explaining this one. Come on, dear.
We have defined it more as a power struggle.
I love it.
He has defined it as a power struggle. I
In my
refuse to
view-
accept that.
My opinion's the only one that counts.
That's what I let him think. But I will say that our dynamic is not the typical dynamic you will see in the lifestyle. We started off as leather brothers. We were both in the same leather family at the same time. And we started off kind of on equal foot. While he was training to be a sir, and I started off as a boy, our lives and our paths were very, very perpendicular for a while. We started at the bottom and kind of started crossing. When we started dating, one of the first conversations we
Hey,
had...
Pop. Can I have a rag? Forgot to give me one. Rude.
Ooh.
I also forgot to get my vest. Also rude.
One of the first conversations we had was about excluding a dynamic from our relationship. So we wanted to work on the fundamentals of our status as boyfriend and boyfriend at the time, and less about what we were going to do dom sub-wise. So we had the foundation down before we got into any sort of dynamic, and it was probably close to 2 years before we actually started working and developing any sort of dynamic.
Wow. I had no clue about that.
Yep.
I've only ever known you guys as... Why are you looking perplexed? Go into the sloth bag. There's giant rags in there. Just give me one of our old towels. Since you can't find the small ones. Go to my car before someone murders you in their home.
Never in the home.
Jesus.
Please do it in the backyard.
Yeah, at least you're protected back there.
Well, the privacy fence,
Yeah.
and it's not that far to dig a hole. We have white carpet. Do not murder somebody on white carpet.
I'm already
We
doing
don't
it.
endorse murder at all.
Some of us
Wink,
don't
wink.
endorse murder at all. Some of us don't.
My cell phone said I was out of town at the time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you are currently on video proving that wrong. But Callie, if you're watching, call.
Call now. Thanks for remembering.
Oh!
You can have this back now.
Ooh.
See?
Ooh! What is
This is
this?
my sash. Ooh, it's super warm right now.
Oh, the Florida Community Boot Black sash. And is this signed by all the previous Community
It
Boot
is.
Blacks?
And only other boot blacks get to read it. Secret language. Okay, you already know my kitties produce candy.
Facts.
They do if you get them hard enough.
They do, which is great. How about you? Anything else you need to add about Power Dynamic and how you guys started?
As he said, we started without the dynamic as just a relationship, and we developed the dynamic really once we were set as husbands or boyfriends at the time.
Boyfriends, fiancés, yeah. I think it's also important to include that our dynamic, while we are in a sexual dynamic with each other, we have two submissives that are part of our dynamic that we are not sexual with, one male and one female, even though we both identify as gay male, that are very, very much a part of our dynamic, as much as us being their dominants as well as them helping keep us in line at times.
I do love a muck.
Oh, and we have a muck who is also part of a podcast, Trouble Comes in Threes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a boy who's technically still in consideration, boy Ty.
That's right. I haven't seen him in a hot minute. COVID's made everything really weird. I haven't seen anybody.
I haven't seen anybody. We don't get out much.
No, none of
Well,
us do.
is it technically a year because it started in March and we're in March?
It started
Has
on
it
my
just
husband's
been one
birthday.
nightmare?
Yeah, it's just been one nightmare. It
Yeah.
started on my husband's birthday, and look, it's his birthday again.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was his birthday last week.
Aw, happy birthday.
Yes, we are in week 53 of a 2-week quarantine.
I'm sure our founding fathers would love to know we're doing the exact same thing a year later.
But enough about that.
Yeah! We're not talking about the giant pepperoni. Alright. Speaking of your leather family, what is your leather family like? You knew this question was coming, okay?
Oh, this is a...
Let's just put it this way. When you find somebody who is batshit crazy as you are, keep them.
Yeah,
It's,
best way to describe our family. Their crazy matches are crazy.
COVID did bring something good out of the whole Leather family dynamic. We had a house which was just the four of us, but over the course of COVID, we got close to another house and we have formalized a Leather family. So we have 2 houses in our Leather family, a total of 9 people, with a charter, which is a living document. It's actually in a Google Drive that everybody can see at any time. Master Shadow is the head of the family. And then the second in command and also the head of her house is Madam Hexa. And it's really, really awesome to find these people that are straight, gay, bi, pan, queer, asexual, male, female, somebody who is male gender fluid-ish, currently all cis, but we do have people that have shown interest that are trans, and it's just really cool concoction and mix of people that all come from different backgrounds but all have the same core values.
Nice. I like it. No, I know a lot about your family because we're good friends, so that's why I'm like, I think that's a good... Anything to add? Head of household? Daddy? Grand Poobah? Sir?
Shark
Oh,
bait.
so, yeah, we came together. It was not intentional, just sort of worked out. And when we decided that we were going to do it, we were like, okay, so rules. First rule, communication. Second rule, communication. Third rule, see rules 1 and 2. That's kind of how we based everything else on it.
I like it. I wish my house ruled had that same house, but it does. But sometimes it doesn't work. What about? What is it like being racial? What? I screwed my own question. What is it like being in a racial dynamic and being gay?
I'm going to let you start this one off.
A racial dynamic.
Yes. Because I'm not the only mixed person at this table.
I think you need to explain, unfortunately, dear, as many people, including our barber today, saw you as passing as white.
Yes. So for those who don't know, I am less than 3/4 white. My father is half black. My mother was albino. And so we are a mixed race dynamic.
I think one of the biggest things for people to realize, in any, not just in a racial dynamic, but if you look at any dynamic of, say, one person in the house is Christian and the other person is pagan, or
We have that too.
right, yeah, ordained minister. Hi.
Pagan and Jewish.
But if you look at anywhere where, say, one partner is Republican, one partner is Democrat, you have to learn to listen more. Because I was raised in the South. I was raised in a little country town where my graduating class was 54.
I can attest to this. You drive into, you hear banjos, and you turn left.
Yes, it's sad and it's true at the same time. There were things that were part of my everyday vocabulary that are very racially insensitive. And I always considered myself more woke than the average person. And I had to learn to listen. There are things that I was aware of that deal with different culture, and him being part of that culture that he never experienced, that I had to educate him on. So it comes into listening and communicating and learning the other's perspective. Like any other relationship, there's just this added sensitivity layer for people outside watching and being judgmental of it.
And when dealing with the police, I let him do the talking.
I do all the talking to the po-po.
Because while I may not look racially mixed, leave it to a racist cop to tell me, oh boy.
ACAB! Oh, sorry.
You okay there, bitch?
I promised myself I wouldn't get political.
Oh no, we're getting political. You're fine.
I think most people, until more recently, in fact, would overlook it or forget about it. I think with the Black Lives Matter movement, more focus has been brought to it now than ever. Before they were like, oh, he's mulatto? Oh, okay, you're passable. And now it's, oh, you're mulatto? Tell me your cop story. They'll acknowledge that I didn't know it, but then they want to know the detail. Mm-hmm. And then usually, if people can't tell, he's the introvert, I'm the extrovert. So I get to tell the story about us being in a car accident, and he was the driver and I was the passenger, and we were not at fault. And yet the police officer called me sir and called him passenger number 2. Or when we got pulled over, somebody may have been speeding. And
15 miles. Not that
bad.
only
15.
It was the veterans. If you're going 80, you're going slow. The Florida Highway Patrolman called him boy and me sir. And I'm in the passenger seat in a kilt and a harness. So basically I'm wearing BDSM gear and a skirt. And I got called sir, and he's in pants, shirt, belt. Like, obviously out of the two of us, he's the masculine one. And he got called boy, and at number 14, I had to stop counting the number of times the officer would call him boy and me sir. And so, yeah.
No, it's a rough one. I understand because, I'm also Hispanic, and in case you don't know, underneath all this white makeup, I'm very brown.
COVID. No one's gone outside.
Yay! No one goes outside.
And I'm the cracker.
Yeah.
I'm the dark one.
Yeah, I'm brown.
I'm liking this. We're going to do more of these.
Okay, deal.
I have a tan for the first time in my life.
I love it. All right, so what's your definition of leather?
May I ask a question about that?
Of course you may.
Capital L leather or lowercase leather?
Oh, I haven't had this question proposed. If you'd like to give both, you're more than welcome to.
For me, it's a mindset. It is being what you say you are, as opposed to saying what you say you are.
I'll give a little definition before I answer. Capital L leather is lifestyle. It's people who live by a set moral code, respect, integrity, honor, commitment, those sort of things. Very militarist code with that. Lowercase leather is fetish. So lowercase leather, you wear leather to have sex. Uppercase leather, whether or not I am in leather, I am the same person. And I live by that code of honor, respect, integrity, and those sort of things. I am both uppercase and lowercase leather. I enjoy it. But I think it's important to make that definition between what the Muggle world would be seen as weekend warriors. We are this all the time.
Yes. We do this every week and day. My husband wears a collar around his neck 24/7. Doesn't matter.
Right, but the thing is and I think it's an important distinction, whether or not your husband is in that collar, he is still the same person.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, oh, I put this on and you change personalities and now you're this other person. It's very much kind of like S&M stand-in model versus S&M sadomasochism. I mean, I'll smile during it, but it doesn't mean I'm modeling.
You have to pay you for that.
If you're paying me, yeah, I'll smile. I'll model.
Good.
$20 is $20.
I love it.
Prices went up. You're supposed to be charging 30.
Be my pimp Communication. It's going to take forever to get through these cards.
That is fine.
Okay. Girl, I'm a talker.
I know you are, and this is why I'm like, I should really have Topher and Shadow on the show. I have a giant question here for you that I know it's going to take like 10 minutes for you to answer. You'll know it when I ask it.
Lord.
What does leather leadership mean to you? Ooh.
I never thought of myself as ever wanting to be a leader in the community. At some point, somebody looked at me and went, well, you're a leader. I'm what? Okay. I just do what I'm doing because it feeds my soul. And okay, so you want to follow, go for it. Now, the long one.
I think the easiest description for me for leather leadership is leadership through service. Whether you are a dom, whether you are a submissive, whether you are a critter, whether you're a one-eyed Episcopalian kangaroo, it is about service. If you are not serving your community, then there is no way in hell you can lead it. Whether you are working security, cleaning up trash, running and producing an event, sponsoring something, it doesn't matter what your role is. It is an aspect of service. And that is leadership. It is as simple as pushing a chair in as somebody walked away from the table and you don't want somebody to trip. By example, you are leading. You are showing others how to lead. Sometimes it's getting up and speaking on stage. Sometimes it's cleaning up the mess afterwards for leadership. It's always about the service. You know how they say there's no small roles in theater? There's only large roles in the community. People see the flashy aspect and think that's what leadership is. I said before, I'm the extrovert, he's the introvert. We will go to an event, a bar night, whatever. I will say hello to every person there. I will talk with every person there. I will get a crowd going and joking around. And I will distract basically the other extroverts. And Master Shadow will be able to get into a one-on-one conversation with somebody that is more intimate in nature. And he will be able to guide them, talk to them, coach them in a way that he wouldn't be able to do if I wasn't there distracting everybody going, oh, look, something shiny. We're each able to serve in a different way, and our service is our leadership. 7 minutes, not 10.
That wasn't the question.
Oh, fuck.
Why is history so important to learn in leather and kink? That was the question.
So, in school they taught you, if you do not learn from your history, you are doomed to repeat it. And that stuck with me. The more modern leather history I've gotten to live through, because I'm old, and Pop over there playing with the camera. Hi. Yeah, I've still taken the time to learn the more older history just because it's important to know. And go.
Go. We solved enough.
So for me, it's 2 parts. Part 1, which is, I think, critical, is early leather history was queer history. It was gay history. It was the people that are dead and gone. Unfortunately, our history at the time, because we were illegal, because we were a mental health disorder, because we were all these things, was verbal. We couldn't write it down, which means when the people died, we lost it. And the AIDS crisis in the queer community devastated our verbal history. It totally knocked it out. So the only way for us to get it is to find the older queers, sit them down and pick their brains and talk to them. Why did you look at me and smile when I said older queers?
I'm not saying anything. You called me elder last time I was here. Rude.
It's important for us to get that because so much of it was. And unfortunately, the reality of the fact is, especially because of the AIDS crisis, if you made it to the age of 30, you, in the queer community, were an elder. In the heterosexual community, you're a parent. In the queer community, you're an elder. And I'm talking about the binary, neo-Christian perspective of heterosexuality, not what it should be. For me personally, the reason why I teach so many history classes in the community is because I remember going to my first leather event, and it was at Sawmill, a gay campground. I had just bought this white harness, and I thought I was the shit. I knew nothing.
We just threw that harness out too, by the way.
Oh, dang. That would have been fun to clean.
No, it was peeling.
Oh.
Yeah, it was
Like,
bad
take care
leather.
of your stuff.
It was bad leather.
Okay.
And I'm at this leather contest, and I'm sitting there in my harness, and this drag queen comes out and starts performing in the middle of the leather contest. And I remember, and I had some cocktails, so for me to remember, it's good news. I remember going, why the fuck are there drag queens at this thing? I came here for the leather contest. And a daddy in the lifestyle turned around, looked at me and said, shut the fuck up until you learn your history. And that moment stuck in my brain so much that I try to gather all the information I can. When we can buy a book or find something, I snatch it up. I fortunately work from home for almost 10 years now, so I'm unsupervised on computers, so I can have the adult history stuff up, and so I've spent thousands of hours finding where this information is documented because of that one singular moment for me.
Nice. I told you that was a long one. It's easy for you to answer. Okay, fine. Alright, what is it like being a producer for an event?
Run! Don't do it! Run!
How many times have you done it now? Ooh, plus.
This is the second event we've helped produce. Third. Florida Leather Fetish Pride, Florida Puppy, and Unity. Now, we weren't really the producers on one of them. We were only on the board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What am I missing?
Florida Power Exchange.
That's me. That's a whole nother. You
And
were
I
on
was
the board
core,
too.
yeah.
So what was it like?
A lot of work.
It's service. It goes back to service again.
So I think I had a good time at the events. The photos looked like I was having a good time. I don't remember any of it. I got there on Thursday. I'd leave on Sunday, and somehow things just magically happened. Because you're always so busy, and you're generally not getting any sleep because things happen, and you've got to be a part of it.
And that's just for the weekend. It's 18, 20-hour days, the weekend of your event. A lot of people don't see the 11 months beforehand leading up to the event where you have to attend other people's events, bar nights, fundraisers, for title holders. We would
love doing it.
Don't get me wrong, love doing it, but it has to be your calling and your passion, because 48 to 50 weekends out of the year, we would be traveling. all over the state, because we run a regional, we're not a national, thank God. You're looking at a minimum, if you want to be nice and still have some time to yourself, you're looking at a minimum about 40 weekends a year. You will be traveling if you run an event, that you have to show up to something, that you will get a random tag and a post at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Still get them.
And you are 2 hours away from this tag, and you're having to get off from work, shower, shave, and eat on the way because it's something you need to attend to on a friggin' weekday. It definitely has to be a passion and a calling. You definitely, by the time you were done with the event, you were cursing and vowing to never do it again, and then somehow you end up doing it again because if it's your calling, it feeds you.
So when we ran Florida Puppy, 11 months out of the year,
That was the champion.
I worked behind the scenes to make the event happen. One weekend out of the entire year, and so I did it. This one was, we're never doing this again. We're never doing this again. The weekend comes, he serves because he's the extrovert. He gets to go out there and, hi, look it over here. Do this. Come on, we're doing that. Yeah, he'd come back and go, I can't wait till next year.
And then all the online and everything would start, where as an extrovert, that doesn't feed me. As an introvert, it feeds him. It has to be a calling. Don't do it if it's not something you're called to do.
I will say one of our favorite stories from when we were producing the event is right after Florida Puppy one year, we went to Atlanta. We were doing our getaway so that we wouldn't know anyone in the area. It was just going to be the two of us.
We just wanted to
Going
do
to
bad
the Eagle.
things with strangers.
Just going to the Eagle and having a good time. And it just happened to be their Southeast Leatherfest weekend. We didn't know that.
And contest.
Oh boy.
So luckily we had the basic leathers back with us because, well, there was a whole lot of,
I still got to get a leather title holder to do the Snoopy dance in the middle of the bar and have his master ask you why I'm allowed to hang out with him.
It's not the first one to ask that.
It wasn't the first time he asked that either.
It's own fault. He left his boy unsupervised.
You seem to grab a lot of those unsupervised boys. Both of you.
I don't grab them.
Non-consensually.
Really?
Consensually.
Really? I will not bring up what happened at Leather Mask Ball, but I still love you regardless. Hi, Michael. What is Unity Leather and Fetish? What are you hoping it's going to be?
Go for it. This is all.
So, even pre-COVID, queer-focused events were dying. They were disappearing as producers moved on, as people lost sight of the service to the community. And I'm using queer purposely as an all-inclusive term. It is not meant as a diss to anybody. It is purposely being inclusive, and the definition of queer is anybody who defines themselves as non-heterosexual or non-monogamous. It purposely is there for everybody under that beautiful big giant rainbow umbrella. There's not a lot of safe spaces that they can go to already. There's specifically not a lot of safe spaces they can go to if they're kinky. So we were broached by people that ran events, but they ran it from the het pan side. Events that we support, we go to, we enjoy, and they're like, there's this hole. What do you guys think about stepping up and filling it? And so we're like, sure, great. And we had to go, well, who needs it? The het pan community doesn't need it. The queer community needs it. So the goal is to be able to do this event and make it what I call muggle friendly. So some of the things we want to do is things like poolside demos. So you can be in the pool as somebody who's not fetish and watch somebody get tied up and strung up and maybe even beat or flogged or lit on fire, and you're in a safe distance that you're not now stuck in a dungeon and being scared. Things that we want to do is we want to do a drag queen makeup hour. So a class where a drag queen is teaching women tips and tricks on how to do makeup, or men, whoever wants to attend, so that they can come in and learn some basics. So we also want to bridge the gap between the queer and the pan community with some of these things that they can come in, and every woman I've talked to would show up for a drag queen teaching some basic makeup tips.
Sure. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Nope. How can one be more active in the community?
Show up.
Yeah, show up. Showing up is a lot of what the community needs, is people to attend the event and just participate. And then find what feeds your soul and go with it.
One of the biggest hurdles that any event has to come across is the space in which we do these things. So if you go to a bar night, whether or not you drink alcohol, it doesn't matter. Buy a drink. Even if it's a Coke, bottled water, buy a drink and support the establishment. They look at bar sales on whether or not a group can host a bar night there. And if the bar sales are not good, they're going to give that date and that space to somebody else who's going to be able to bring in the bar sales. So if you can help support the establishment, yay, we're supporting our fellow queer community, whether they're kinky or not, but we're also supporting securing the space for those that are kinky and want to come out. That's one of the hardest things to get. Everyone shows up and goes, what can I do? And once you're there, supporting the space is the biggest thing anybody can do. The other thing, other than showing up, is sharing it. Whether you're on social media, FetLife, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, OnlyFans, just for fans. If you share it on Parlor, you're done and not invited. But getting the information out there and help getting the word across. Even if you can't share it, hit like on the post. Something like that to gain attraction.
Nice. What is a piece of leather that you own and means the most to you, and why?
For me, it's going to be my cover. It is
Not the one you are
not
currently wearing.
The eagle on it, though, is also the other piece, but it is the only leather that was presented to me as my journey continued. So our family at the time didn't believe in the presentation of leathers. It's a more newer concept, adopted from the het pan world. In gay leather, at least our family, the cover was the only thing that would be presented at the end of your training period. So that's why it means the most to me. And it's old and musty and
Retired. For me, it's actually a leather armband. It took me a little while to embrace my pop. And the first time I'm not a puppy. I put on the magic hood. I'm a fucking puppy. The first time I embraced my pop and I was in somebody else's hood, Pup Flip took his armband off of him that says pup on it and gave it to me. And it meant the world that this leader of the pup community, who, is part of our lineage and line as well, presented this to me. And then I found out afterwards it was literally the last one he had. He made no bones about it afterwards. He's like, if you ever stop being a pup, I want this back. He's like, I don't want you to give it back to me as long as you are still a pup. Mm-hmm. So to me, it was this thing that literally came off of him. It was part of his identity. And he gave it to me right there. No questions asked. It's this thing that I only wear on special occasions because I want to preserve it and keep it there, and it means something.
Puppies are magical.
Licks and hoods, it does it to everybody.
Not to me. You licked me.
Oh, you didn't taste like puppy.
No, no.
Apparently you taste like,
That one did.
that one tasted like puppy, yes.
How do you both find time for the community and for yourselves?
I don't know. All I know is COVID has let us do projects that we've been putting off forever now. We've gotten more done in this house than I didn't think was ever going to be possible. When world opens up again, you just sacrifice one for the other.
We didn't do a lot of sacrificing. We did a set date night on a weeknight, so that it usually never corresponded with anything that was happening in the community. And so we would have a set date night, whether we went to the movies, whether we just went to dinner. We would have the set date night. But also, fortunately for us, we are not exactly in the epicenter of a town. We live about 45 minutes to an hour away from anything we would regularly go to.
At least.
So you figure we have at least an hour and a half drive time round trip anywhere we go, that we get the time to bullshit and chit chat or listen to a podcast or an ebook or whatever. We would actually get that time to really be able to connect, to discuss sometimes what we're walking into. Especially as educators, we get invited to spaces we've never been before. And so, you always dress up and then be prepared to strip in the parking lot if you're too overdressed, and discussing, code words for protocol changes or things of that nature. We get a lot of that one-on-one time just from the drive, and dedicating that drive to that one-on-one time.
Is BDSM kink sexual? Is it sexual?
It can be.
That's a trick question.
It is. But it's anyone's answer is correct.
It's both.
It's both.
It's
Yeah.
both.
It doesn't have to be. We've done play with both the girl and the boy, and it's not sexual.
We've done play with each other that hasn't been sexual.
Occasionally get a raging boner.
Occasionally.
Why? It still thinks it's 18.
You, my little energy vampire. I think it's about what you want out of it as well, but also going in with no preconceived notions. If you're playing with a partner and you don't want it to ever be sexual, you need to state that up front. Period. End of it. It can't get sexual. I know it's really popular in the puppy community, critter community, that their critter or pup is non-sexual. They can't combine the two worlds. There's others that are like, hey, if sex happens, great. There's some that's the end goal, and it's about communicating. When you're with a partner, fortunately, you kind of read each other, know each other. I'm a slut, so it can always go sexual, and I'm okay with that. But there's been times in which sexual wasn't the goal, in which I'm like, we are doing it, and we are doing it now. First time with needles was that way. I'm literally like, we are fucking here and now.
I was like, at least let me take the needles out first.
He did.
I
I didn't want him to.
Did you want to be a porcupine?
I didn't like
I was high as a kite. I was enjoying every moment of it. And they were in my back.
Yeah, you've been fine.
That's where I'll be.
If you're putting your dick in between my shoulder blades, we have a problem.
Sometimes.
Oh boy. What changes have you seen in the leather community, and what changes would you like to see?
Changes I've seen in the community and changes that I'd like to see are kind of along the same lines. So when we came into the community, it was only, well, for us, only gay leather. And women weren't in the space. Trans wasn't in the space. Anything along that wasn't a gay male was not in the space. It has grown
In our local community.
where we've had you in our space and it's been lovely. Absolutely lovely.
I got you pickup play.
You did multiple times. I appreciate it.
I need a masochist. Here, take girlfriend.
Yay!
And what I'd like to see in the community is more acceptance of it. So the older queer crowd who still swears up and down that it's never going to happen, it's only going to be gay men. Yeah, they need to adapt.
I'll stick more with the what I'd like to see.
Okay.
And I'm gonna follow up on the adaptation. I'm gonna speak to the concept of old guard and new guard. Old guard is definitely very cis gay male, and that it's only cis gay male. Where new guard is a lot more open to different genders, sexual orientation, sexual identities, and all of this. What I would like to see is some crossover where the old guard is more open to more genders, sexual orientations, identities, and all of that. But I would like to see the new guard adopt some of the old guard philosophies, more of training and learning and history of, I don't just buy a flogger and use a flogger. I get trained in how to use a flogger. I have that flogger used on me before I use it on somebody else. And I would like to see some merging and some adaptation of ideology from both sides.
So we were both old guard trained, but we have not stuck to the limitations of old guard.
I'd like to say our foundation is old guard, so the concrete slab is old guard, but the framework is new guard, where we have windows and doors that let in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But our foundation, the thing that keeps us solid, is in the training and respect and the learning and protocols.
Gotcha. So your teaching is all the foundation, and everything else you get to add in. All the
You
new
get
stuff.
to decorate it however you want once that foundation is down, but the foundation is the important part.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid that's what the new guard is losing. But the old guard needs to be able to step up to teach it, and they can't teach it if they're not willing to teach it to everybody.
Why do you think, and this is a very loaded question, why do you think some other folks have massive issues with non-binary friends?
Their own insecurities.
Leather, BDSM, fetish, and kink is sexual by nature. Whether or not you sexually get off, it is sexual by nature. And I think the idea of somebody's sexuality or gender identity being outside your understanding is confusing. It's not problematic in an aspect of what do I do with it? I'm either going to do something with it or I'm not, personally. But there's quite a few people like the cis gay males that only want cis gay males. If they don't think they can get their dick wet, then they don't want it in their space.
Mm-hmm.
I am a cis gay male. There are plenty of other cis gay males that I don't want to have sex with. It doesn't mean I can't learn from them, respect them, and play in the same space as them. And I think that's the ideology they need to get around. Just because they're not necessarily sexually attracted or want to have sex with somebody doesn't mean they don't deserve space.
Yep. All right. How do we, as a community, make safe spaces for all? Ironically.
I got nothing on that one off the top of my head. Go for it.
I think it starts off with, it's not about you. Period. It's that simple. If you're wanting to create a safe space for everybody, then you create the safe space for everybody. If you want trans to be accepted there, then you reach out to trans and you go, what do you need? What is something that would be inviting to you? If you want more BIPOC there, Black, Indigenous, people of color, then you reach out to that community and you go, what do you need? What makes this space safe for you? I think there is a lot of what I am going to call shady inclusivity. And the reason why I'm going to call it shady is because you've seen it in our local community years ago. We want women to volunteer. We want you to work registration. We want you to work nighttime security, but you're not allowed in the dungeon space you helped set up. Yep. Shady inclusivity. On the outside, everything is pretty. The paint's gorgeous on the house, everything's pretty, and you walk in and you realize the air conditioner hasn't been on in 20 years and the place is full of mold. That shady inclusivity. You need to actually make it inclusive. If you're going to invite a group to be present, then they need to be respected, they need to be included, and they need to be allowed in all this. Period. Yeah.
Okay. What is puppy play, and what is your dynamics in it? Since we're doing this lovely mess.
Puppy play is an ever-changing, wibbly-wobbly ball of energy.
It's an amoeba.
It is an amoeba. So when we got into puppy play, it was, again, really just gay leather sex. Now we have a plethora of variety, from diaper pups to baby pups to cross-dressing pups, and I know that's probably not the correct term for it. Everything underneath the sun. I remember talking with one particular pup who was very upset that all these varieties came into being. He wanted it to remain the old leather sex pup, and it can't be. I mean, it's still developing.
Pup for me, as a pup, it's always going to be leather for me. My foundation is in leather, so whatever I bring in, it's always going to be leather for me. But also with the history aspect of it, it started off as leather, pup did. So in a way, I'm also trying to pay homage to the history. Pup started off as a punishment for slaves, and then some of us freaks kind of liked it. But pup overall, no matter what aspect of it you do, it is a mental freedom. It's a type of escapism. You don't have to think in full sentences. You don't have to deal with the political niceties. If I'm in pup mode and you're pissing me off, I'm either going to bite you or walk away. If you're talking to me and I'm bored, I'm going to lay down and go to sleep. Like, it's that great freedom of just being in the moment. And you don't have to be in charge of anything. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. You just get to experience life and that moment in that moment.
Nice.
And as a handler, I would say,
the amount of cock I can bring home.
yeah, fetch works well with him.
I am a cockhound.
I wish mine would pick up that skill sometimes.
I can teach him.
Please do.
He has to shave first.
I like the beard. All right.
I mean, just a little...
Speak up so that they can hear you whisper shade.
He's like, I can hear you all. All right. How do you think events will change after COVID?
I don't think masks are going anywhere in the near future.
Embrace the fetish.
And it's just that. We knew people who were into it as a fetish before.
I have a mask.
About the medical masks.
But I have the mask fetish already. I have several of them.
So I don't think it's going anywhere. I think when the world reopens and majority of the people are vaccinated so that we can be in places together without masks, there's still going to be the need for it. I mean, we discovered this year alone that it reduced the flu.
Like a lot.
I mean-
Plague's a thing.
Well, not even with the con plague. It's just if you're going to the supermarket, you're wearing a mask, so you're not.
Kids aren't on the
Spinning
playground
around.
picking stuff up.
So, go ahead.
For me, I think it's going to be recuperating the surviving events, the surviving businesses. That's going to be one of the biggest struggles. Is they've gone a year currently and running that they haven't been able to have any momentum. They haven't been able to fundraise. They haven't been able to get out there in their local community. And their community is starved for attention and need and all of that. I know as Unity, we did a press release discussing that we aren't even talking to our board right now about plans for the event until the new infection numbers drop and the CDC says it's safe and that everybody has a chance that wants the vaccine can get the vaccine, because we don't want to add that level of stress of planning an event as people are losing their jobs or life is in chaos. But those people that are already planning events and stuff like that, when it's safe, are going to need the support. And we need to be prepared to pack a suitcase, run out the door, and support those events, those bars, those establishments. Because while they may have been able to survive during COVID, it is barely. And when we can be released back out there, we have to resuscitate them. They're currently on life support. We need to shock them back alive. And I think that is an important role that every community member is going to have. You go to your queer bar, you go to your leather establishment, you go to your dungeon, and you pay your membership, you buy something, you support your vendors. We've got to resuscitate the community if we're ever going to bring back the community.
Tell us your top 3 kinks and fetishes.
My mommy may see this. So anyways, it's...
I'm like, wait, really? You're worried about your mom? Like, your grandma's so open.
Top 3.
Top 3.
Electro, paddles, and what am I forgetting? It's been so long. Come on.
Oh, I'm good. Keep talking.
Do you want the electro or the paddle?
Electro, yeah, so...
Well, what am I forgetting?
You're an energy whore. You're about the energy exchange
That's
more
true.
than necessarily a particular fetish.
That's true.
What about you?
Oh, it's electro, water sports, and puppy play, hands down. Hi, Mom. Hi, Granny. Hands down. Don't even have to think about that.
What is your favorite toy in your toy bag?
Violet wand.
My go-to is my favorite, and it's the blindfold. And you don't even have to have a blindfold. You can make a blindfold, but it's that go-to. Just because it takes away that one sense, and then there's the anticipation, and then there's, in a way, having to give up some form of control automatically, that no matter what play we're doing, the blindfold can just usually get easily worked into it. And so for me, it's my favorite piece of fetish play gear.
Alright. How can one be an ally to the queer community?
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this clear. I don't care what community you are an ally for. Stop trying to talk louder than them. Listen to them. Period. If you want to be an ally for the Black community, then share their voice. Don't talk over their voice. If you want to be an ally for the queer community, share their voice. Don't talk over their voice. You can't be an ally if you are silencing the group you are trying to support.
Same?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any organizations you guys support in the community that we haven't talked about?
It's not a fetish organization, but I'm thinking Metro for HIV testing, awareness, and helping with medications. And along with that, if you're going to talk about that, you have to talk about Mr. Friendly. You've got to talk about removing the stigma. People need to get tested. People need to know their status. And they need to be medicated. And if you're scared of HIV, there's PrEP now. We've got to stop this slut shaming, because if you're potentially spreading HIV, you're potentially spreading syphilis, gonorrhea, the list goes on. But those organizations need support and funding as well. They're part of the queer community. They're what helped keep the queer community alive after the AIDS crisis in the 90s.
Literally. All right. Well, thank you both for your time. Is there
Thank you.
anything else you guys would like to end with? Your vest looks gorgeous, by the way.
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else
Dip your boot black.
that you If you turn me into a sir, I'm fine with that. That's a great tip.
I think the important thing that I'd like to leave a note on is basically what you just did. Ask questions. If you don't know, ask questions. Meet these people and ask them about themselves and their dynamic. If you interviewed 1,000 puppies, you would know 1,000 different forms of puppy play. If you interviewed 1,000 masters, you would know 1,000 different forms of being a master. Talk to these people. Again, our history was verbal. So ask the questions, talk to them, pick their brains, get to know them, because this is how you would find your chosen family. This is how you find partners and relationships. This is sometimes just how you find a really good trick. Talk to them.
We're not as scary as you think.
Yes, we are.
I can only think of a few people in the community who, if you went up to them and asked them a question, sincerely, not, well, what is that? I mean, if you actually sincerely ask them a question, they'll educate you.
And if they don't, they're a dick and you don't want to talk to them.
Pretty much.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. Pop,
Thank you.
tech support.
Wakey, wakey,
Wake
eggs
up.
and
He fell
bacon.
asleep. He did.
No, he's got earbuds in.
I know he does. He's listening to us. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Please tune in. This will be posted back up on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Bye.